Folk Magic by G D Hancock. It is said that there is true magic in folk magic. People have tried to interpret signs and omens as long as they have felt the need to prepare for the future. There is a lot of folk magic dealing with characters. Folk magic has been around since the beginning of time. Occasionally, people associate certain events with the wonders of nature and the beauty that they bring. Many old, well-known sayings regarding folk magic: red sky at night, sailor's delight, or shepherd's delight; red sky in the morning, sailors take warning, or shepherd's warning. If you see an owl in the daytime, someone will die. If the groundhog sees his shadow on Groundhog Day, there'll be 6 more weeks of winter. If the squirrels gather a lot of nuts in the fall, it will be a hard winter. Many of these folk magic traditional adages were meant to predict weather conditions. Folk magic lineage was often meant to predict sickness or death, conditions our ancestors felt they had no control over. Divination was a way of seeking information to control over, or at least prepare for, future events. You may be familiar with the folklore, or magic, as I call it, in your area, and have some idea of whether those predictions are accurate. However, the best and most accurate rules for interpreting events are those that you develop yourself. Like dream interpretation, omens and signs are very personal. Spirit speaks to us as individuals, so it uses symbols that are meaningful to us. A character might mean one thing to one person and something entirely different to another. Folk magic may predict the weather and other events that occur over a large area and affect many people, but in modern science, which, at least as far as weather forecasting is concerned, isn't always all that accurate. Interpretation of personal signs and omens of guidance is much more critical. Learning to interpret events in your life as guideposts that help direct your attitudes, behavior, and growth is a talent well worth cultivating. Difference between omens and signs. In many traditions, the term sign indicates the appearance of an object or the occurrence of an event that gives us information or provides guidance, usually in symbolic form. A sign will often appear to answer a question that you have been mulling over in your mind. Symptoms may be externally or internally generated. An example of an externally generated sign is one or more things happening that stand in the way of your keeping an appointment. You might interpret that to mean that you weren't meant to be there for some reason, rather than just getting upset about the inconvenience. If you need help getting there, consider not going. In many traditions, externally generated signs are seen as gifts from God, Goddess, and Spirit. An internally generated sign is a gift from your higher self, or unconscious mind if you prefer. For instance, if you are trying to leave the house in the morning and can't find your keys, it might be a sign from your inner self that you forget something even more critical. It might signify that you must take a day off or try to be in too many places simultaneously. More often, an omen is an event or object outside of ourselves that warns us that something terrible will happen. The symbolism and context of the omen give information about what might happen when it occurs and how one can avoid or prevent it. Many of these are folkloric, but if something occurs or you see something that makes your hair stand on end, it might be the proverbial goose walking on your grave that signals that something is wrong. Send me a sign! There is a difference between interpreting signs and using more structured divination tools. With many divination tools, the interpretation of the answer is predetermined. You know, when you ask a pendulum a question, which motion will indicate a no and which will mean a yes. Unless you are scrying, the answer format is predetermined, and even with scrying, you know where and when to look for the solution. On the other hand, anything, anywhere, at any time can be a sign or omen. You must pay attention when looking for a sign to help you answer a question or make a choice. The answer could appear anywhere, and you might miss it if you aren't careful. Most signs aren't that obvious, and we usually don't know what we're looking for, but when you want an answer to a question and say, "Goddess, send me a sign," don't ignore anything. Goddess, God, and Spirit give us lessons, guidance, and information. If we are attentive, open, and able to recognize patterns, we can tremendously benefit by furthering our growth and making our lives safer and more comfortable. This is one of the interactions that further our progress toward personal growth and development in the craft. Thank you for watching my video. Merry part.